Hello and welcome back to Tier List Tuesday, and in today's episode we're going through the POV characters of A Song of Ice and Fire. And first things first, we're going to Arian. I'm going to put it in the middle there in the B tier. I do think that it's quite interesting, some of the aspects of his story. Well, I just don't, I just, when I read these chapters, I'm not very interested in the whole religious element to his story. I think he's pretty much a cameraman for Euron and the things happening on um, the Iron Islands. So I'm gonna put it in B. The same problem with the Ariel Hotar really. I'm gonna put him at C tier. Pretty much the cameraman of Dawn. He doesn't really have thought for himself really, Ariel. The only The only substantial thing that he does in the entire story is maiming um, what's her face? Um, the Lannister girl, Princess Lannister, and killing Aerys Oakheart. But that doesn't happen in his POV, that happens in Ariane Martell's POV. And Ariane Martell isn't even a good POV herself, because her PLVs are basically she goes to do goes to go against her own father. It doesn't work. She gets arrested. She gets taken to Sunspear. She's imprisoned, and then there's a minor conspiracy at the end of the book. And other than that, there's nothing really happening in her story. Yeah, I'm gonna put it quite high in S tier. I think it's quite interesting, the story that she's got so far, that she's escaped captivity in different aspects. She's got quite friendly with a variety of people. Her characterization in Bravos is absolutely fantastic. The way that she's written after she goes to Essos is fantastic. The stuff in Harrenhal is so fun. Like the whole escape sequence is so much better than it is in the TV show. It's just a really good character story so far. I hope she continues to the end, because Arya is one of George's best stories so far. And like I was on a bit earlier, Ares Oakheart is poor. Like, I don't think it's as bad as Arya Hotar, because Arya Hotar has multiple chapters, but Ares Oakheart has one chapter in it. Basically, he has sexual relations with Ariane Martel, and then that's it. So, what do you do? Asha, also known as Asha, I'm gonna put. Hmm. I think I'm going to put Asha at the end of A. I don't think it's specifically bad, her story. I just think that some of her chapters are so boring. Like the one where she's talking to her family relative on one of the islands before they go to do the election for the king's moot for the crown of the Iron Islands. That is such a boring listen to. When I was reading that, I just felt like I just wanted to just change chapter. There wasn't really that much going on. Barristan, this is after Daenerys leaves, and he's basically a cameraman for Marine. His last chapter where he decides to do an uprising is pretty. It's fun, but yeah, he's a cameraman for Marine, but because there's a lot more happening in Marine than there is in, like, Dawn, he just bumps it up a bit. The political intrigue is like a minor King Landing with your Littlefinger character, your Varys character, your Monarch who's quite stupid character. Very interesting. With Bran, I'm gonna put it on A tier, but above Asha. Bran's character doesn't get any good until he leaves Winterfell. The expedition up north is quite interesting. Not really top tier, but his story after he gets to I can't remember what it's called, the Night Fort. After he gets into the Night Fort, it's just fantastic story writing. His expedition north is just fantastic. Brienne, I'm gonna put it in A. I should put it in S because retrospectively I quite enjoyed her stuff, but it took me about 3 chapters to realize that it's a lot. It isn't like massive, like in like a Tyrion chapter where there's a lot of political intrigue. Brienne's chapters are a lot to do with the ground level stuff, what's happening for the peasantry in the war, how it's affecting normal people. And I think once you understand that that's the element that then going for, Brienne's chapters just fall into place and they're really fun to watch. Well, read. Catelyn, I think I'm gonna put it in B tier. I haven't got the same hookups what people have in as I know a lot of people don't like her characterization in the first book, in that she's very stupid and stuff like that. I don't share the same beliefs. I think she's just misdirected by bigger players in the Game of Thrones. But the reason why I put her in B is from her leaving Winterfell. Well, no, from her leaving King's Landing to her reuniting with Robin Riverrun. I just find them chapters in the second book. I don't like reading. Like when she was scaling the Eyrie, and there was like 10 pages of her scaling this fortress. Like I understood that it was to show off how grand the Eyrie is, but I didn't really enjoy reading it. Like it was a bit boring. You know what I mean? Like it made the Eyrie seem like it's too harsh of a castle to maintain, really. Like too implausible. I know it's fantasy, but them chapters just laid it on thick and I didn't really appreciate it, really. Next up I'm going to put Cersei just below, actually just above Arya. I don't think Cersei's the best character in the books, in terms of POV characters, but with her in Feast, that entire, like if you just read Feast of Crows and just go back and just have a look what Cersei's saying, pretty much everything coming out of her mind is just absolute hilarious. Like it takes you about 2 chapters to realise that, oh yeah, she's really dumb. Like pretty much she's trying to be a father and trying to be like intimidating, but in reality she just comes off as very naive as a ruler, and it's so funny to watch like it play out. Next is Chet. I'm gonna put it in data. I think the majority of the one chapter characters are actually gonna be fairly low down, except from the one, because I quite appreciate it. Chet's character, I I don't really I don't really have anything really to say about it. There ain't that much to actually go on and go off. It's just all about him trying to creep up on Jon Snow and kill him. And other than that, there isn't that much. There's characterization for like a certain amount of like minor characters, but if you took that from the story, you could have easily just left it out. Really, there's nothing that it really improves the story, and so as well as Crescent, really, Meister Crescent is it's just a build up for Melisandre and Stannis. Really, there isn't there isn't anything major that happens in the one chapters. Really, it's just to show that Melisandre is a witch character. And other than that, it's meh. Daenerys, I'm gonna put it in A. I don't think it's S tier, but Daenerys. Although I do think that she's an interesting, like she shows off a lot of SR. She shows off a lot of the mysticism about the story. She goes to different places that nobody else has been to, but I just think that her characterization and how she interacts with and how she politicizes stuff, I don't think it's very interesting. I think it's just very like basic. There isn't, aside from if somebody slights her and somebody else reacts to it, there isn't really that much going on there. There hasn't been anything like, except from things that are external to her that she has no control on. There isn't that much interesting happening, really. It's just things happening to her, and she has no real control on things. Except from if she marries somebody or something. But yeah, going on. I'm gonna put Davos above Cersei. If you're on about probably the most consistently good character chapters within the books, Davos is probably top the highest tier. His chapters are so brilliant. The possibly the only bad one in the entire story is when he's originally captured, for allowing Stannis' nephew to actually go free. Other than that, every single chapter of his story is hit out the park brilliant. Especially his chapter where he's meeting Lord Manderley. I genuinely think that is either my favourite or the second favourite of the entire story. My favourite is chapter one, but yeah, the whole like going to different places, bit describing different places. I think it's just fantastic to be honest with you. Jamie, I'm gonna put it in S tier as well. I think his arc is going to be perfect when it finally comes out. I do see that he eventually lets slip to somebody important that he did save King's Landing all those years back, and it does clear his name sort of. I do think that might happen, and I think, you know how in the TV show that he goes to Winterfell to help out the living fight against the dead. I reckon that the story's going to angle himself into him confessing that Ares was going to destroy King's Landing in front of Daenerys, and I think she's going to absolve him of a lot of blame over that, and I reckon he's going to come out of this story like brilliantly. I reckon he's going to be a brilliant end to his character. John Connington, I think I'm going to put it at the top of B. I think his chapters for the next book are probably going to be the best chapters in the entire book for next book. With him marching on King's Landing from Storm's End is going to be fantastic, you know. But I think his chapters so far have been pretty okay, but not outstanding as the will be next book. Jon Snow, I'm gonna put above Daenerys. I really should put Brienne above them both. Yeah, I think Jon Snow, although he is probably my favourite character that's still in quotes alive, I do think his chapters are pretty boring. It's, he's he's pretty much a cameraman for the wildlings, pretty much, and his characterization after becoming Lord Commander is pretty, like, it's okay, but it isn't as good as what you'd hope it be. Like, you'd hope that he got a lot more respect than what he has. But I can totally understand why George they go in that direction. But yeah, I'm gonna put Jon Snow just above Daenerys because I think Daenerys. He is the wildlings version of Daenerys' Essos, like cameraman sort of perspective. Even though they have got authority, I do think that they're not really respected in that authority, and they're pretty much the same coin, different head sort of thing. Anyway, Kevin Lannister, I'm gonna put S tier, but at the bottom. Kevin Lannister is the best single chapter in the entire book series so far. That's the chapter that I was going to say that rivals Davos's Wyman Manderley chapter. That chapter where he dies at the end of Dance of Dragons is actually fantastic. You know, it makes you think that he should have been a POV character a lot earlier, and he probably should have had a lot more influence in the books. Like, people go, "Oh yeah, what character do you wish had either more POV chapters or at least one?" And people always go Brandon Stark because, um, you know, he's fighting in the Westerlands and stuff like that. But mine would be Kevin Lannister, and it would be like straight after his brother's death, because you don't, because throughout the books, Tyrion, Jaime, and Cersei all think that he's a lapdog. He's literally like a yes man to his older brother. But as soon as you read his chapter, I'm like, oh, he's keeping everything under wraps. All right, that's brilliant. And that's what I wanted more. Like, if I could have any character to have more, it'd be Kevin, and he'd be a lot better than some other characters that got loads more chapters. Melisandre, I think she only had one chapter as well. I'm gonna put her in. I'm gonna put her above. Like, her chapter alone is better than Aaron's entire run in Barristan's. Really, the mistake about her is so interesting, and the way that you could see a tiny bit of a backstory as well. Fantastic. I just wish that she had more. Merit Frey, low tier. It's basically, oh yeah, Catelyn Stark's still alive, but she's been given the kiss of life by bloody what's his face, and oh yeah, she has vengeance for the Red Wedding. Okay, Ned Stark, I think his stuff is very underrated. Um, the he's quite, he's like the protagonist for the first book, and there's a lot of mystique if you go back and read some of his things. Obviously, you got like the Asara stuff, but I think it's quite interesting that he doesn't reveal everything. It speaks to his character that it happened like that. Pate, very low tier. Nothing really you learn from him, except from Alaras's Sorella, and that the faceless men are in Old Town, but you don't understand why. But other than that, it's very poor opening to that book. Quentin Martell, everybody's going on about Quentin Martell. Is he alive? Did he survive the dragon burning him? And although it's possible that he's alive, I seriously hope that he isn't. I think that his character is pretty much defined by the journey that he goes on to meet the Queen, and it's an ultimate, like, okay, so nothing really happened on his voyage east. When he gets there to do his only job, he fails. When Daenerys disappears and he has the chance to capture the dragons to take them west, he doesn't do it. So his entire story is a failure. And when I was reading it, I was just hoping that something was going to happen, but nothing really happened. Samuel Tarly, I mean, them okay. I'm gonna put it in the middle of Daenerys and Jon Snow. I do think that he is pretty much the cameraman of the entire series. There's a lot of things that have happened to him, but he hasn't been really active in those instances. I do hope that he has more of an effective role within the next book, because him just bumbling his way through life and getting away with it in such a harsh world is so like, it doesn't really make sense that he's got away with a lot of things that he has. Like, oh yeah, he survived the White attack. Oh yeah, he survived an encounter with a White Walker. Oh yeah, he survived having relations with a woman. Oh yeah, he got taken over to Essos to go to Bravos to go to Old Town. Oh yeah, when he was at Old Town, all of his stuff was taken because the brother that he was with sold all the stuff to pay for stuff, and he didn't have that much money, but he got taken then to Old Town anyway. Oh yeah, he was immediately allowed into Old Town to learn. It, there's a lot of things happening to him, but I just wish that he was a lot more active. Sansa, pretty boring story to be honest with you. I think her only good chapters are in which important things happened around her. Essentially, Littlefinger's stuff in the Eyrie, her early stuff in Game of Thrones. Yeah. Theon, pretty high tier. I'm gonna put it above Jon Snow. His arc of being like this egotistical young man to this like broken person that doesn't even acknowledge his own name. It's so powerful. And him returning to his sister in the cold, and he wants to like redeem himself. I think it's a very interesting arc, and I do think that he probably dies, but yeah, right, I have appreciated his story so far. Tyrion is next. I'm gonna put it bang at the top. Is pretty much everything that Samwell Tarly has, but he actually has an effect on the story. He's been in Winterfell, he's been to the Wall, he's been to King's Landing, he's been to Essos. That a lot has happened to him, but at the same time, he has done a lot to the story itself. He's killed the most powerful person in Westeros. He's influenced different people into making major decisions, and he's just a very fun character to read. When he went to Essos, and he become really bitter, and learning to have fun in his life with Penny, like very very fun character to read. On the other side, I'm gonna put Varamir towards the end on D tier. One chapter, and it was basically to say, oh yeah, he dies, and he walks into a wolf that eventually loses to Brandon Stark's direwolf, and that's it really. Oh yeah, and he don't like certain characters. Nah, Vesemir isn't a very good chapter at all. Victorian, I'm gonna put him above Aeron. I think if you had to have one character that was like a cameraman for the Iron Islands, it is Victorian. He is quite stupid, but he has a battle sequence. He has interesting moral dilemmas. He has affiliations with different characters. He actually stands up to Euron a tiny bit, but not really. Yeah, I think he's a very interesting character. I think it does restrict him that he's a tiny bit stupid though. And lastly, is the first chapter of the first book. I'm gonna put Will at B tier. As an opener to the Game of Thrones, the mystique that it injects into the series is fantastic. The amount of theories about the walkers thinking that what's his face, the boy. Anyway, the White Walkers thinking that the boy's a bloody Stark and thinking that they've killed the Azor High character is very interesting as a theory. But yeah, fantastic opening to the Game of Thrones that was needed. And with that, that's the end of my tier list. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like, please subscribe, and goodbye.